Hey guys, this is EckhartsLadder here with another pretty quick Star Wars Legends lore video. I am getting married on Saturday, so the videos are going to be pretty chill. Today's video is brought to you by NordVPN. As I'm sure most of you know, Nord is the VPN provider with thousands of servers in 60 countries, and that number is always increasing, and the only VPN to get a perfect rating from PC Mag. You can try Nord today at nordvpn.com/EckhartsLadder. Nord uses military-grade encryption to protect your information, whether looking to browse the internet anonymously, protect yourself while P2P sharing, or bypass region-based restrictions. Nord does all of that with simple mobile apps or an internet extension. Now, internet security is obviously important to me as someone with a fiance and child who earns the entirety of their living online. One shoddy connection at an airport or hotel means I could lose the ability to provide for my family. So, do what I did and sign up for Nord. If you use my link, nordvpn.com/EckhartsLadder, you'll not only be supporting the channel, but you'll get 70% off a 3-year plan, and if you use the code EckhartsLadder, you get an additional free month. So, a few days ago, or a couple of weeks ago, I talked about the difficult position the Empire was in immediately after the Battle of Yavin. To guarantee a decisive victory against the Rebel Alliance, which had bunkered down on Yavin 4, the Empire would have to move significant forces across the galaxy, not only weakening their defenses in other places, but also giving the rebels the opportunity for a second major morale victory. Thus, the Empire waited for the completion of the Executor, lead dreadnought of course of the new Super Star Destroyer class. It was essentially a game changer, powerful enough to slant not only the battlefield in the Empire's direction, but to alter the balance of power across the entire galaxy. Similarly, the new Super Star Destroyer also helped to entrench the Tarkin Doctrine, with a new scary tool of war at the Empire's disposal. The two Death Stars were envisioned to be a similar type of game changer. The first gave Palpatine the political leverage to dismantle the Senate and even further clamp down on individual freedoms across the galaxy. The Death Star 2 was meant to be a guaranteed destroyer of the Rebel fleet, helping to trap them in one place and, well, blast them. However, this was only the first step of Palpatine's plan for total galactic domination. As I alluded to briefly in prior videos, before the Battle of Endor, massive invasion fleets moved outside two key systems, but like with Yavin 4 years earlier, they weren't attacking, but were holding position, waiting until the game-changing Death Star had finished at Endor and perhaps moved to 100% operational status. When that happened, the Death Star would move to the two planets one by one, destroying them. And the two planets I'm talking about here explicitly are mentioned in the Essential Guide to Warfare as being Mon Calamari and Chandrilla. The former, for obvious reasons, primarily because of the Mon Cal shipyards and the fact that the Mon Calamari were perhaps the species most openly rebelling against the Empire, and the latter for both its open support of the rebellion and of course it being the home planet of Mon Mothma. But I find it very, very likely that Mon Calamari and Chandrilla were only the tip of the iceberg, and that there were many, many other planets that Palpatine had selected for destruction. Maybe if every Alliance cell had somehow totally capitulated, that would bring an end to things, but I don't think that's very likely. The Empire, I think, would have probably continued destroying planets, and I've created a list of likely secondary targets. First, and perhaps primarily, we have Corellia. In this scenario, Alderaan and Chandrilla would have already been punished for producing two of the chief architects of the rebellion in Organa and Mon Mothma, so Corellia, being home to Bel Iblis, would have been a likely target. Plus, there's the fact that Corellia had remained largely independent and just generally annoying to the Empire, and breaking the very strong Corellian people would have been an incredible statement to the galaxy. We also have Bothawui. Bothawui was on its face neutral throughout the Galactic Civil War, but it had actually facilitated the transfer of the Death Star plans, and of course Bothawui's native Bothans were heavily involved in spying for the rebellion. Bothawui was also a fairly prominent planet, so again, it's a statement thing. From that point on, I think the Empire would target planets where the populations or the planets themselves had lent support to the Alliance, even if quiet support. I'm talking about, say, Ryloth or Sullust. or even more minor planets like Dracel. And by that point, we've really blown up quite a bit of the Star Wars universe. And one of the reasons the Empire would have been more likely to do so in this scenario is because with the destruction of much of the Rebel Alliance, there wouldn't have been a central opposition to the Empire that those who were displeased with the actions could have flocked to. The lack of an enemy to the Empire would have also meant less hope and more fear. And remember, a key tenet of the Tarkin Doctrine is basically the fact that the galaxy is far too big to police with a traditional military, and that fear has to be used. Without a rebellion, I think tactics like this are even more successful. Also remember though, Palpatine's ultimate plan, as I've discussed in many prior videos, was the transition from the Galactic Empire into the Dark Empire. The Dark Empire, as we see emerge after the death of Thrawn, is basically imagined as a universe-spanning dark side government. While Palpatine's ever-increasing force powers was important to this, so too would have been the commonality of superweapons. When the Dark Empire came about, Palpatine had no problem using the galaxy gun to blast planets away, so I think he would have been very loose with the second Death Star, and likely would have moved into production, or at least unveiling, of other superweapons, like the World Devastators, the Eclipse Super Star Destroyers, and more. However, that's all been, at least mostly, my opinion, and I'm curious to hear what you guys think. Where would Palpatine have targeted after Mon Calamari and Chandrila? Would the galaxy give in to fear, or would a Rebel Alliance always remain in some form? How quickly, if at all, would Palpatine have moved to his so-called ultimate plan of a Dark Empire? I look forward to reading your guys' comments down below. However, before we end today's video, we do have a hashtag AskEck question of the day. Today's question comes from Christian Blanchard, who says that looks like E.C. Henry's triangle wing tie delta with minor tweaks in that poster towards the end of a video I posted last time. So I've seen this one on Twitter a few times. The Rise of Skywalker will have a new ship called the TIE Dagger, and yes, it has sort of triangle shaped wings. And yeah, E.C. Henry does have a model that looks quite similar, and by the way, subscribe to his channel if you haven't already, but he's never claimed that Star Wars has copied his model, and in fact, as I posted on Twitter when this first came out, general pointed ties have been present since the Force Awakens art book, and Pablo Hidalgo quoted as much in a follow-up tweet. For one, this is why you should be following me on Twitter, what are you doing? But for two, it seems like both parties came up with a similar design and that there was no harm intended. Again, E.C. Henry never accused Star Wars of copying his design, and in his own words, I don't think it's particularly similar to mine anyway. Triangle wings are an obvious choice for a TIE variant, and that's the only explicitly similar detail. But if it has swiveling wings, I'll be suspicious. So keep an eye open on that, and again, subscribe to his channel if you haven't already. He was the one who helped me out with Battle of the Dreadnoughts, and of course, he did a phenomenal job on that. Anyway guys, that's all I have for you today. Until next time, have a great old day, and may the Force be with you.